So, whether or not they announce a new Legends title tomorrow morning, I've been wanting this video for a while, so here we go. With the success of Pokemon Legends Arceus and its acclaim, especially mine has been my favorite game of 2022, I had one many that would not mind like the design concept being applied to other monsters and regions. So here other Pokemon Legends titles I'd like to see. And for sake of argument, I'm going to keep the original generation off the list and focus on ones I think would be best suited to a Legends title in a particular order. So let's begin. And now that I'm not the only one who has been making a desire for this creature, Aher and the setting resurface, that's exactly why I would change up my order for which kind of guns I like to see. And given how Kyurem is key to the plot of Black and White, especially its sequels, I think this would be the monster most suited for. Even though I'm not sure they'd had to do things exactly the way they did in Arceus, that's why sitting in the 1980s, roughly 15 years before the events of the original Black and White titles. Those would be an interesting perspective to show the series, given how it's often more affiliated with the 90s, albeit with an alternate history that goes back centuries. I'll be getting into that more as I continue this video. Oh, especially in terms of how you could portray things like the Pokeballs and like early version of the PC system as well as setting itself. Given how they did show that Cedric Jr. was a researcher before his daughter was, so that alone presents a lot of possibilities, of course. And likewise, why a Legends title in Alola, since hence the rumored heard stars and eclipse ultimately never came to fruition, and or at least ideas on those titles ended up being retooled in the Ultra Sun and Moon instead. And I definitely would not mind the idea of like a title set in those islands being revisited, and given how the Ultra Beasts are in many ways are like aliens, feel free to insert the infamous ancient aliens meme here. I think setting the story in the 1960s could be another way to share a new perspective on it. Especially if say how like a younger Samson Oak starting out in his tenure, and but also show how, given some real world context, given how they was just still relatively new, then its real life Hawaiians had just entered the Union, and before this decade began in 1959, and focusing on Necrozma could definitely be interesting, especially since the islands, one, could be well suited to the open world design format, or at least having parts of the island be staging grounds. And especially since the trial system was still an interesting idea, that I like how other more recent installments have adapted it, if not directly reused it. Yes, it's also why I think the whole demolishing the bad edges in Scarlet does not hold water when, by that logic, these games, Sun and Moon, reworked a different way. But I get ahead of myself here. Hmm. Yes, I know the setting would basically be like a less buggy version of Assassin's Creed Syndicate, but I've always been fascinated by Gallows' setting, and I still submit, even with some detractors, which remain as low as here, there's much more good in Sword and Shield than bad. So, given how much Eternatus factored into Gallows games and other material associated with that region, and I think putting this one as a focus would be a natural move given how Especially, you could have Rose's ancestors try and go after his power source. And also, given how, like, the Galarian Weezing with a mustache and stovepipe hats, also double smokestack, actual stovepipe, if you will. Oh, I definitely would not object if this became reality. Maybe on Switch successor, how they've been talking about. Who knows? Hmm. Back to monsters and Regions of Previous third installment, and given how the Hidden Treasure Area Zero and Expansion for Sword and Shield now basically fill the same role, I think maybe instead of a Pokemon Z, given how many ideas would have been used for the game to make their way into Sun and Moon, perhaps if they wanted to get more detail about Zygarde's connections to the Ultimate Weapon, as well as the Great War, or I think a Legends game set around the time of that conflict would be the way to go, especially if it meant how you would factor in elements as AZ and also his Floettes, as if to say, like the whole "it's been 3,000 years" memes, and given how we also need a 10th anniversary X and Y, and the series officially transitioning to full 3D in the main series, it's been doing it for a while. I would say that it's not a region I would be about revisiting in the slightest. So, and there is one more Legends title I would not object to seeing if the opportunity ever arose. While other people have based this Age of Legends concept in Johto around Celebi, I instead went with Ho-Oh given its significance in in the games as well as other adaptations as symbolizing eternal happiness in the Rainbow Hero, especially the idea that from great despair can come great hope, especially find a way to work in how the other legendary beasts were just came into Pokemon World, and given how much Johto significance played a role in not only its generation but also subsequent ones, and also persistent talk of this region making a comeback as well. How I still submit this is definitely a Legends game I'd like to see happen, and not just because how much I love this rainbow bird. Anyway, that'll be it for now. Please let me know what other Legends games you'd like to see, and I will see you all tomorrow after the Pokemon Presents stream comes. Take care, everyone, and seek out all Pokemon.